You've been doing cardio your entire life. Intervals, HIIT, sprint sessions, tempo runs, pushing hard every single time because that's what cardio is supposed to feel like. Hard, painful, breathless, miserable, and here's the uncomfortable truth. You've been doing it wrong. Almost all of it. Not just a little wrong. Fundamentally, structurally, completely wrong. And the fix? It sounds so counterintuitive that when most people hear it for the first time, they assume it's a joke. The fix is to slow down. Way down. So slow, it feels embarrassing. So slow your friends at the gym will ask if you're okay. So slow you could have a full phone conversation while doing it. That is zone 2 training, and it is the single most important fitness concept that the vast majority of people are currently getting completely backwards. Champions have built entire careers on it. Longevity scientists won't stop talking about it, and in 2026, it has completely taken over fitness culture. So let's talk about what it actually is, why it works, and why going harder has been quietly sabotaging your results for years. Okay, let's start with the basics because Zone 2 sounds like something an elite athlete's coach invented to sound smart. It is not. It is actually very simple. And the simplicity is exactly why people underestimate it. Your heart rate has 5 training zones. Zone 1 is a walk in the park. Zone 5 is an all-out sprint where you want to die. Zone 2 sits at 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. That's the intensity where you're working. But you can still hold a full conversation without gasping. Slightly breathy, comfortable, sustainable for a long time. To find your rough Zone 2 heart rate, subtract your age from 220. That's your max heart rate estimate. Multiply that by 0.6 and 0.7. That is your Zone 2 range. For a 30-year-old, roughly 114 to 133 beats per minute. For a 40-year-old, roughly 108 to 126 beats per minute. And here's the part that breaks most people's brains. That pace feels almost embarrassingly easy, especially if you've been used to grinding yourself into the ground every session. First-timers trying Zone 2 properly often have to slow down to a pace that feels like they're not even trying. Some have to walk, actual walking, to stay in Zone 2. And they feel like they are wasting their time. They are not. They are doing exactly what the science says is most effective for long-term aerobic development. Here is what is actually happening inside your body when you train in Zone 2. And this is where the science gets genuinely fascinating. At Zone 2 intensity, your body is running primarily on fat for fuel. Not sugar, not glycogen, fat. The stuff most people are desperately trying to get rid of. Your body becomes dramatically more efficient at using fat as energy. And that adaptation has enormous consequences for everything from endurance to longevity. But the real story is what happens to your mitochondria. Mitochondria are the power plants of your cells. The more you have, the more energy your cells can produce, the better you perform. And this is the part that gets longevity scientists very excited. The longer and healthier you live. Zone 2 training is the single most effective stimulus for growing new mitochondria. Full stop. No other form of exercise comes close to Zone 2 for mitochondrial development. Peter Attia, one of the most respected longevity physicians in the world, recommends 3 hours of Zone 2 per week as a baseline for long-term health. 4 sessions of 45 minutes each. Andrew Huberman has talked about it extensively. Elite endurance coaches have structured entire training systems around it, and the data from professional athletes is extraordinary. Here's the number that changes everything. Elite endurance athletes, the people who win Tour de France stages and Olympic marathons, do 80% of their training in Zone 2. 80%. Easy, slow, conversational pace. Only 20% is hard, intense, all-out effort. And most recreational athletes, they have it completely backwards. They do 80% of their training at moderate to hard intensity and 20% easy. They train in the gray zone. Not easy enough to get the zone 2 benefits, not hard enough to get the zone 5 benefits, just hard enough to feel like they're working, just not hard enough to actually adapt. Here is why almost everyone gets zone 2 wrong. And it comes down to one deeply embedded belief. If it doesn't feel hard, it isn't working. This idea has been the foundation of gym culture for decades. Push harder, go heavier, suffer more, earn it. And for strength training, largely correct. Progressive overload requires effort, but for aerobic development, it produces exactly the wrong adaptations. When you train too hard too often, you spike cortisol, you accumulate fatigue, you don't fully recover. Your body spends its energy managing the damage from the last session instead of building the aerobic engine for the next one. You feel like you're working hard, you feel like you're progressing, but your aerobic base, the foundation of everything, is barely improving. And the cruel irony, the harder you push every session, the more your body adapts to surviving short, intense efforts. And the worse you become at longer, sustained performance. You get good at suffering through 20 minutes and terrible at everything after that. The second reason people get zone 2 wrong is simpler. They don't actually know what zone they're in. Most people train by feel, and the problem with training by feel is that comfortable and zone 2 are not always the same thing. For a well-trained athlete, zone 2 might feel genuinely easy. For a beginner, zone 2 might feel like moderate effort. Without a heart rate monitor, you are guessing. And most people guess wrong, usually 10 to 20 beats per minute too high. That 10 to 20 beats per minute difference, it pushes you out of zone 2 and into zone 3. Zone 3 is where the magic disappears. You're working hard enough to accumulate fatigue, but not hard enough to get the high intensity adaptations either. Zone 3 is the gray zone, and most recreational athletes live almost entirely in it. Training hard, not recovering well, not improving aerobically, wondering why they're not getting faster despite training constantly. A heart rate monitor fixes this immediately. It is the single cheapest upgrade you can make to your training. Let's talk about what consistent zone 2 training actually produces over time, because the results are genuinely hard to argue with. In the first 4 to 6 weeks, your resting heart rate starts dropping. You're covering the same distance at a noticeably lower heart rate. Your recovery between hard sessions improves dramatically. You're not going faster yet, but your engine is getting bigger. At 3 months, your aerobic base has shifted. The pace that used to push you into zone 3 now sits comfortably in zone 2. You are actually covering more ground at the same heart rate without feeling like you're working harder. This is mitochondrial adaptation in action. Real, measurable, undeniable. At 6 months, people who started zone 2 training properly report performance improvements that surprise even them. Faster run times, better endurance, stronger performance in their strength sessions because recovery has improved, less injury, less burnout, more consistency, and the longevity data is even more compelling. Higher VO2 max, which zone 2 training directly improves, is one of the strongest predictors of long-term health and lifespan that science has identified. Not wealth, not diet alone, not genetics. VO2 max, the people with the highest VO2 max at age 50 have dramatically better outcomes in almost every health marker measured. Zone 2, training is not just a fitness tool. It is a longevity investment. The question everyone asks, should I do zone 2 or HIIT? And the honest answer is you're asking the wrong question. Zone 2 and HIIT are not competitors. They are partners, and they produce completely different adaptations. HIIT is excellent for improving VO2 max quickly, developing power, and training your body to handle high intensity efforts. Short sessions, high reward, high recovery cost. Zone 2 builds the aerobic base that makes everything else more effective. It grows your mitochondria, it improves fat oxidation, it enhances recovery from your HIIT sessions. Without an aerobic base, your HIIT sessions are building a skyscraper on sand. With a strong zone 2 base, every hard session you do is amplified. You recover faster, you adapt more, you perform better. The optimal combination for most people, 80% zone 2, 20% high intensity. 2 zone 2 sessions of 45 minutes, 1 or 2 shorter, harder efforts. That's the entire weekly cardio framework. Total time, 2 to 3 hours for dramatically better results than grinding yourself into the floor every session. Here is exactly how to implement Zone 2 training starting this week. No equipment required except a heart rate monitor, and a phone works fine. Step 1, calculate your Zone 2 range. 220 minus your age equals your estimated max heart rate. Multiply by 0.6 and 0.7. That is your range. Write it down. Step 2, start with 2 Zone 2 sessions per week, 30 to 45 minutes each. Any steady state cardio works: running, cycling, rowing, walking on an incline. Whatever keeps your heart rate in the zone. Step 3, go slower than you think you need to. Seriously, most people need to slow down significantly in their first few Zone 2 sessions to stay in range. If you need to walk, walk. The zone is the goal, not the pace. Step 4, be patient for 4 to 6 weeks. The early weeks feel like nothing is happening. They are the most important weeks. This is when the mitochondrial foundation is being laid. Step 5, add 1 harder effort per week after week 4. Intervals, tempo run, or a high rocks training session if that's your thing. Keep 80% easy, 20% hard. Total weekly time commitment, 2 to 3 hours. That is the entire framework. The athletes who have made Zone 2 a non-negotiable part of their week report the same thing almost universally. After 3 months, they feel like a different person athletically. Not because they suffered more, because they slowed down enough to actually build something. So Zone 2 training, the thing that looks like nothing, that feels too easy to be working. That makes you slow down when every instinct tells you to push harder. And yet, it is what elite endurance athletes build their entire training around. It is what longevity scientists point to as one of the most powerful predictors of long-term health. It is what grows your mitochondria, improves your fat oxidation, builds your aerobic base, and makes every hard session you do more effective. The hardest part of Zone 2 training is not the effort. The hardest part is trusting the process when it feels like you're not doing enough. You are. You're just doing it at the right intensity for once now. The comment section question, and we genuinely want to know the answer. What zone have you actually been training in? Drop your honest answer below. Zone 2 proper, or deep in the gray zone like the rest of us were? No judgment. We've all been there, but we want to know. And before you go, if this video changed how you think about cardio, hit subscribe, hit the bell. Every notification you turn on tells the algorithm to show this channel to more people who need it. No sponsors, no brand deals, no one telling us what to say or how slow to run, just the science, the facts, and the occasional sarcasm. The next video is already in production, and it connects directly to everything we just covered. You are gonna wanna be there for it. Zero fluff, always. youtube.com/@fitnessfacts, zero fluff. See you in the next one. And if you went for a Zone 2 run after watching this and someone overtook you at a walking pace, good, you're doing it right. Zero fluff, always.